everyone, and welcome to the Depression Vacation Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Shannon.
I am the other person who can claim to be a host, Hal.
And welcome. We're here. It's December 10th today, but not when you hear it.
Damn, December 10th already.
Dude, it's crazy. So I told you before we started that I was Christmas shopping today, or I was trying to. So yeah, have you started Christmas shopping?
Not even in the least. I've ordered my girlfriend's present because I got her a custom gift off of one of those custom spammy websites. But other than that,
I did. Yep.
Silence your phone. Other than that, shopping for Christmas stuff is a little bit like iffy for me. This is a year too where money is a little bit short, but I usually just save up all of my cash back rewards on my credit cards for December for that reason.
That's smart.
But gifts in general, I'm not a huge fan of either giving casually or getting casually gifts. So it's something that I just kind of put off a lot until I actually need to get something. So
giving gifts is my love language, or it might also be a trauma response. We don't need to unpack that. But I love to give gifts, and I've unfortunately cultivated this reputation of giving really good gifts. And so Ryan's family now asks me for recommendations, for example, for what to get for Ryan. And I understand he's a hard guy to shop for. So I have this running Google Doc that they have access to. The only thing is, I am stumped on his dad and his grandfather. His grandfather, the last few years, the presents for Christmas and birthdays have been socks, a blanket, a sweater, slippers. You can see the theme. And he loves it. He's just like, oh, you know how cold I am all the time. And I'm like,
is he
yes,
just being
Grandpa.
polite, or is he really like to be clothed?
No. He tells me all the time after I give him a gift, or when he sees me, he's like, I was using my blanket. I was wearing my sweater the other day. And he gets so excited, but I'm running out of warm gifts to give him. I mean,
try to find a Snuggie off of eBay or something.
You can only give a man so many warm things.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I'm a little stumped on. And Ryan's dad is a little hard to shop for too. So I don't blame them for asking me for advice, but I'm just worried that eventually I'm going to run out of advice for myself. And so that's a problem.
Yeah, my dad is also a very difficult person to get gifts for because he doesn't really like anything that we get him. Or if he does, his love language is grumbling about it. So it got to a point for a while where I actually really was not trying very hard to get him gifts at all because he just didn't really care about I remember, so he's a big video gamer, believe it or not. And a couple of years ago, for the next iteration of this grid strategy RPG he loves to play, you needed a PS4, but you needed an HD TV because they no longer would work. And he had this old cathode TV in his office that he'd play it on. And so my sister's boyfriend took the reins, got all of us together. We all contributed the amount of money to get him a base HD TV, a PS4, and this game. And I remember I went to a Christmas party with them a week prior, and her boyfriend Max was like, oh yeah, can't wait to have your dad complain about this incredibly thoughtful gift I got for him. And sure enough, he was right. So,
oh my gosh.
But we did a little bit better for So, and this is something I enjoy a lot. I prefer experience gifts to tangible gifts. And it was my mom's idea to just have us kids go in to pay for a hotel room at Harrah's Casino in Atlantic City and 2 buffet tickets for my dad because he does love playing poker. So hopefully that is a gift that he will enjoy a little bit more and won't grumble about quite as much.
I definitely think experience gifts are a good way to go. I've found that when you're shopping for adults, it's usually something they want, something they need, experience gifts, or money. Those are, really good, broad, themes of gifts to go for. And I always end up getting something that is really kind of personal to that person because I'm thinking to myself, well, what do they need? Well, they said that this happened last Christmas. Ryan's sister was talking to me and very offhandedly said, I really wish I had a recipe book that I could fill in all my recipes. And she said it offhandedly, didn't even think about it. And I got her one for Christmas, and she opened it, and she was like, I can't believe that you remembered that conversation. And I was like, you just got to take mental notes, man. And I have a running list in my phone of like things that all of my friends and family enjoy so that I can, and I keep it throughout the year because come Christmas, it's very useful.
You give gifts good. What can I say?
I know. I'm just too good.
Yeah.
Too good at it.
I kind of like, it depends, like, my brother-in-law is a pretty easy person to get gifts for because he and I kind of have the same taste. Like, we both really like video games, or sometimes I'll just ask him what game he wants. I don't like giving gift cards is the thing, because I feel like that's, even though it's tangentially the same thing, it feels very impersonal to just be like, hey, here's a gift card, go see a Star Wars or something like that.
Right. And I'm on the fence about gift cards because on one hand, I will always appreciate a gift card. I would rather you get me a gift card than something I won't like. Mm-hmm. But my go-to tactic is no matter what gift I get, I always give them a gift receipt. And I always tell them, like, listen, exchange it if you don't want it. Honestly, I just want you to have something that you want for Christmas.
I've done that a couple of times. Like, I got my sister a couple of years ago. I got her some books that I thought would be interesting at Target. And I specifically got them at Target for the gift receipt because I know that she shops there a lot. And I was like, if they're not your thing, it's like a gift card, essentially. It's like, I was thinking about you in this case, but I'm also not offended if you want to just take it and get groceries or something.
Yeah.
Or stuff like that.
I'm also kind of selfish because when I know someone likes to read, I like to get them the books that I like so that I have someone to talk to about them.
Yeah. We called those canary gifts in my household growing up, which is a term that I think is pretty unique to just my dad's family. And it stems from an incident that, like, his brother Chris, when they were growing up, really wanted a canary for, like, something, and his parents would not let him get one whatsoever. So he just waited for Christmas and then gave his mom a canary as the present. Which is brilliant, by the way. But,
right.
So we always refer to those as canary gifts, like when you give somebody a present that's really for you.
No, it's not really for me. What I'm saying is because I already have the book. So
you just want somebody to talk to.
I want somebody to talk to about it, and it's okay if they exchange it. And like I said, I always get a gift receipt. So for example, like my Secret Santa at work. So here's what I did, because I'm their new boss, right? And I got hired a month before Christmas, and I thought to myself, what are the chances that they're going to do a Secret Santa? And so I sent a survey out to all of my employees that was a get to know you survey so that they would tell me all of their likes and dislikes. And so all I had to do was when I got the Secret Santa and plucked a name out of the hat, I just had to go back to my emails and find the right one. And I'm a genius.
You're awesome at this.
I know. I just have a knack for gifts, I tell you.
My whole office actually does gifts to each other for Christmas too, which took me aback the first year I worked there because I didn't get anybody a present because I've never... Like, nowhere I've worked has ever done anything like that before. And at this point, actually, I've kind of, partly because I'm a procrastinator, I do New Year's gifts to them now because, like, so they don't get lost in the mix of Christmas and they're like a little thing there.
Oh, that's nice.
It also gives me an extra week to just get my ducks in a row.
Yeah.
But, I think it's nice in general. I'm not we've talked about gift giving, I think, on the podcast before, but, like, I don't know. As I've gotten older and I just can get myself what I want, gifts are just not horribly important to me.
Well, and it's hard to shop for adults because generally now adults just get what they want. Like my dad is incredibly hard to shop for. So for a few years when I was like strapped for cash, I used to just make him really stupid crafts for everything. Father's Day, birthdays, everything. One time I gave him a mug that I literally just wrote on and it said pull out champion 1976 to 1995. That was for Father's Day.
I love that you can make jokes like that with your dad because if I gave that to my parents, I think that I would not be welcome in the house for Christmas.
He did call me, though, at one point, like recently, because I was at his house, and he had been using that cup as like a pen cup, but I wasn't thinking about it, and I pulled it out of the cabinet to use for coffee, and I just left it, and then he was like, Shannon, don't be mad. And I was like, what? And he was like, your mug ended up in the dishwasher. So now it's just a mug that I got from Goodwill that just it does not have anything on it anymore. But I was like, well, it just gives me the opportunity to give you the same gift all over again.
Instead, it's abortion champion 1986 or whatever.
He laughed because it was Father's Day, and I was like, oh wow, remember when like you didn't wear a condom and then I came into the world? That was totally crazy.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, gift giving is probably the Christmas tradition that I'm best at. And that's kind of what our theme is today, Christmas traditions. One thing that I don't know if other people do, but so let me preface this by saying that because of the tumultuous childhood that I had, not very much, I don't have a lot of traditions because there wasn't a whole lot of consistency growing up.
I mean, did they have Christmas in the castle? So
I don't know. I wasn't there.
That is true, yeah.
There we go. But it's so like because we moved around so much and so many people were parts of our lives at different times, like nothing really stuck. But there were some traditions we had before my grandmother passed away because my grandmother was the one that really stuck to a routine every Christmas. But after she died, it was, every man for himself, basically.
Yeah.
So we used to do, with my mom, we used to do solstice gifts. So we would open a gift on the solstice, and then the rest of the gifts we'd open on Christmas. But even that wasn't consistent. We either did it on the solstice or on Christmas Eve, you could open one present.
Okay.
Did you ever do anything like that?
So what we did, we weren't able to open one present on Christmas Eve, but what we kind of did instead was, because my mom had so many friends that were Dutch in a lot of her days there, we did celebrate St. Nicholas Day. But it was like small, the tradition for the Dutch, for anybody listening there, is like you put your shoes out on St. Nicholas night, which is like December 8th or 9th, and then like it just has candy and like one small toy in it when you wake up, which is what we did, and our parents like did the St. Nicholas thing. So that was like a fun pre-Christmas little thing, essentially, is that like we got to do that. And then like another fun tradition, when I was the first of the kids to know there was no Santa Claus, I was able to help my dad just like move the gifts from the car when my sisters were asleep, which actually was a fun thing to do because it felt like I was being treated more like a grown-up in that scenario.
Yeah. And you got to kind of contribute to their, like, you got to have like a little tradition that was your own thing.
Yeah, my parents still talk about this. I cried when I found out there was no Santa Claus.
I did too.
But I found, like, my story behind it, because they love telling the story because it was so weird, is that, like, I kind of suspected for a little bit that maybe Santa Claus wasn't real. And I was a big reader of Calvin and Hobbes starting in 3rd grade. And a recurring, like, joke in Calvin and Hobbes is that Calvin is always, like, hearing Santa down below, but it's really his dad cursing as he dropped a present on his foot or something. And I was like, I actually bluffed my parents into telling me there was no Santa Claus. I was like, Mom and Dad, I know the truth about Santa Claus. And they're like, you do? You know that we're actually Santa Claus? I'm like, I actually didn't, but now I know.
Wow, that's crazy.
And I have some, like, speaking of Santa Claus, I do have some complicated, like, thoughts on Santa. I
do too.
I don't think it's a good thing.
I don't either.
Yeah, because and this is interestingly enough, like, I remember my sisters and I had this discussion with my brother-in-law like 2 or 3 years ago, and both of them very much into the concept of Santa Claus if and when they have children, and Steve and I were not. And I think the reason behind it is we actually covered this in, of all places, my Catholic club when I was in college, because we were talking about the concept. Some of them were very against the concept of Santa because what it does is essentially, on a subconscious level, sets you up to accept that your parents are lying to you about a lot of things. And in their religious context, they said it sets you up to maybe not believe in God later on. If that's the case, bingo. But
what's really funny is that my dad's issue with Santa Claus and the issue that I have with it is basically that it's training wheels for Christianity. It's basically you get the kids to believe something when they're small that benefits them, and then later when they get older and they understand God and Jesus and things like that, it's much easier to get them to buy in it. So that's part of my problem with it. But also, I 100% agree. I don't think you should lie to your kids. Another problem that's arisen recently that I saw online was about the fact that, when you have gifts from Santa, kids are inevitably going to have a inequality in the gifts that they get from Santa. So one kid's going to be like, I got the PlayStation 5 from Santa. And then the other kid's going to be like, I got a doll or I got a teddy bear from Santa. Mm-hmm. And so they're going to see that, like, okay, well, why does Santa treat me differently than this other kid? Mm-hmm. So I saw a lot of things online that were like putting a call out to parents to, like, if you're going to do Santa, make it not one of the big gifts so that, you you can be cognizant of like your kids are going to go to school and they're going to be like, look what Santa got me.
So this is actually something I was going to mention too. My ex-girlfriend did sort of like a middle of the road thing with Santa, which I thought was a very good way to do it. Like essentially like Santa brought both of the boys one present that was like a reasonably big present. So Santa brought them one thing and then the rest were from mom, which I thought was good and like
if you're going to do it.
Yeah, if you're going to do Santa, I feel like a middle of the ground sort of thing is better there, so you're not like overcome with Santa Claus stuff. But the inequality of gifts is something that's just sparked an interesting like thing with me too, because when like I feel like I have a lot of people pleasing tendencies, which have evolved for a variety of reasons in my upbringing. But I remember my parents loved videotaping every single Christmas, which was very cool to like. We didn't necessarily love it when we were kids, and definitely not teenagers. But it's nice and like retrospect now to just be able to go back and see them. And some of the Christmases, like I don't know why, but like my sisters were both crying in one of them, maybe because there was an inequality of gifts or something wasn't like perfect for Christmas. And I would go around and like get excited about their presents for them. Like a running joke in our family is there's a little scene where I'm like, Kathy, look, it's Roller Baby. Don't you love Roller Baby? And like the fact that this little boy who just wanted a video game for Christmas is trying to get excited about something called Roller Baby, which is the stupidest fucking sounding thing in the world.
Hal, that is the most wholesome thing I have ever heard. I would watch a Christmas movie about that very thing, about that little boy.
Maybe a future vid jam eventually.
Maybe. That would be so cute.
But I do think it's interesting because like a lot of the people-pleasing tendencies, like you can trace that back to I just wanted everybody to be happy for Christmas. And so I would get excited about their presents for them. And that's kind of how I've evolved today. Like actually my mom has been bugging me because initially for my Christmas present, I have a really nice laptop that I do most of the editing for like VidJam and stuff on, but the screen has been broken for like a year. But I hook it up to an external monitor and I keep it at my work desk, so I just use it at work to edit things. And she was asking me what I wanted for Christmas. I'm like, if you wanted to do something, you could fix that screen for me so I could have the laptop back. And my brother-in-law actually is pretty handy with computer stuff, so he's going to do it for me as a Christmas present.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and my mom has been like, Hal, I get you a Christmas present. You got to let me know what to get you. And weirdly enough, it's kind of more stressful because, like, I told her straight up, like, it's a nice offer, but I would just rather hang out with the whole family, watch Christmas movies, eat good food that I know you're going to cook, and then drink rum drinks and, enjoy each other's company. Because that is what I actually enjoy in the holiday season. It's just like seeing more family. And I think that some of that sprouted too from just like being away from them for 3-ish years in California and missing a lot of holidays. So yeah, that's the experience gift I want, is just having a nice family Christmas.
Yeah. I think I enjoy receiving gifts, and I often beat myself up over that because I'm like, oh gosh, you're selfish. You only care about gifts and that kind of thing. But as I've gotten older, it's kind of like I didn't get the experience to get nice things when I was a kid, and now it's nice when people give me nice things now. So that's kind of where I stand on that. But there are some traditions that I'm okay with letting go, and I think Santa Claus is one of them. Like, I don't mind treating it like, like you treat any other story that you tell your kids, like a storybook and that kind of thing. Like, I don't care if they know about Santa, but I have such a trauma surrounding belief and surrounding,
fictional beliefs and
characters and things like that. So it's really hard for me because I worry that, as I get older, I know that there is an appropriate level of pretend play that children do need to progress and to develop cognitively. I recognize that, but I have this huge fear surrounding it because it wasn't properly monitored with me.
Oh man, you just like brought up something. Like, have you seen The Rehearsal at all? The Nathan Fielder show?
No.
Okay, just to it's a long background, but I'll make it as short as possible because this absolutely wrecked me when I saw this finale episode for it. The whole point of the show is that like he rehearses tough situations with people like over and over and over again, ridiculously to like psychotic lengths to get people like ready to face challenges that they're avoiding. And one of them, the main one for the season, is like there's a woman who wants to see if she wants to be a mother. And so what they do is they swap out like kid actors every couple of hours and then age them up 3 years every week. And at one point, he steps in as the dad of the whole thing. And one of the child actors playing the kid comes from a home where his father left him. And he gets this is maybe a 5-year-old child, gets incredibly confused because he thinks Nathan Fielder is his father. And he doesn't understand why he's not coming around and playing with him anymore. And like the whole episode is them dealing with that and being like, we were just pretending, buddy. It was just like you and me, like we were putting on a show. And the kid just doesn't get it at all. And it's it absolutely wrecked my heart to see that.
That's heartbreaking.
Yeah. And then they turn it into something where, it's manipulative as well because that's the entire show. But that was very sad.
Yeah. Yeah, I struggle with that, and Santa is like a big sticking point for me. So that was one of the first things, like when Ryan and I were discussing, hey, is this something that we're going to do for the long haul? And if so, do we have the same ideas about parenting and such things? And that was something that he agreed on with me.
That's good.
So that was really good.
No lottery tickets, no Santa.
That's right. Some other fun traditions. So I have a problem, and that problem is with things being passed down to me. I am crazily sentimental, but when you're like that, it just takes up so much space.
Yeah.
I once had my mom gave me this doll that belonged to like my great-great-grandmother, and I had it kind of tucked away for the longest time, and then I went and opened it up one day because I was trying to decide if I, cared enough to keep it. And the decision was made for me because when I opened up the box, there were a bunch of spider eggs in it.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And I was like, okay, yeah, no, we're not keeping this. So I threw it out. And
that's horrifying.
Yeah.
That's like a scary stories to tell in the dark Christmas.
It was horrible. Now, there are some other things that I am having a hard time letting go of. One of them in particular, after my grandparents were both gone, they had this beautiful nativity that was like really old and big. And one of our traditions every year was when we went to decorate, we would individually unwrap all of the little figurines and put them in their places. And it was a thing we all did as a family. And then after Christmas, we would take tissue paper and wrap each individual character up again and pack it safely away, and it was like a whole thing. Well, when they passed away, they were like, what do we do with this nativity set? And I was like, I don't know if I want it because I feel like I do because I have all of these memories around it, but I'm also not religious, so I don't really, have the only sentimentality with it is just it reminds me of my grandparents and when we would unwrap all the little people and put them up, and it was just something we all did together. And so after the funeral, I had said, you know what, no, I don't want it, it's fine. But then the following Christmas, my ex-boyfriend at the time gave me this gift, and I open it up, and what's there but this nativity set.
Was it the same one?
The same exact one. So
that's kind of sweet, I guess.
Right. Well, he had gone to my mom and said, hey, I think Shannon's eventually going to want this. I think I want to take it and then give it to her for Christmas.
Aw, so, good move, ex-boyfriend.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways.
In some ways.
I mean, the thing for me was that I had made my peace with it, and I was like, no, it's not something that I need, and that's that. So I tend to make decisions and stick to those decisions. So when I got it, I was like, oh, thanks. I thought I'd gotten rid of this. So on the surface, absolutely sweet. I know he did it with the best intentions. But for me, where I was like, now I have this to deal with. And so now I still have it, and I haven't used it since I've gotten it because I feel weird about putting it out because I'm not religious. And so that is the story. So
you brought up an interesting point that I was just thinking about there. I feel like you could put out a nativity scene in a more secular sense because obviously Christmas evolved from other pagan holidays that the church sort of co-opted. But like the modern meaning of Christmas for at least 1,000 to 2,000 years has been the story of the nativity and the birth of Christ. So like acknowledging just that is part of the entire cornucopia of Christmas, I don't think is necessarily religious. It's just
that is a good point. I mean, if for me, from a what is the word I'm thinking of? From like a logical sense, if I'm going to approach Santa with the sense that, yes, I want them to know about Santa, but I don't want to feed into the tradition of Santa, you could technically have that same approach to the birth of Jesus and that kind of thing. For me, it could be like, hey, this is a story. We don't know if it's true or not, but this is what it is. So I kind of see where you're coming from there, where it's not so much about whether you believe it or not. It's about kind of the spirit around it. So yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I think it's it's all part of the general picture and painting of Christmas in general. God, I had something. Oh, I was going to mention like other traditions that have come to mind too. Like my mom is a huge Christmas nut, which I really love, and she always makes the same cookies every year. Always cooks us the same breakfast, which involves like scrapple, mimosas, and other like fun things. And we always like listen to Christmas music while we open presents. The presents are too many, which I've tried to taper down on over the years because like I really don't appreciate just casual gifts too. But a funny thing too, so my girlfriend is Jewish, but absolutely adores Christmas in general. Like she was, her dad was Jewish, her mom was Christian, so they did both holidays growing up. But they have all these fun Hanukkah traditions I didn't even know existed. Like apparently instead of elf on a shelf, a lot of them do mensch on a bench.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and I thought that this was like a modern thing people did. But I was talking to one of my coworkers, who's very Jewish too, and she's like, "Oh, I've heard of mensch on a bench. They had that when I was younger." And then like another thing they do is chocolate Maccabees instead of like chocolate Santas or other things like that. They actually have like Judah and the Maccabees in chocolate form, which was another thing my coworker was like, that takes me back to when I was a girl celebrating Hanukkah, and she's like in her 60s. So chocolate Maccabees have been around for a while as well. It's fun to hear like, I mean, you know the general gist, I guess, of Hanukkah, thanks to Adam Sandler and other things. But like, it's fun to hear all these like other little traditions that the Jewish people do in that respect. So, and she also loves Christmas, so there's that too.
I don't love Elf on a Shelf for the same reasons that I don't dig the whole Santa situation. Yeah, because it, on top of the fact that like you're pretending that this elf is real and all that kind of stuff like that. Like I said, lots of trauma surrounding that. Yeah. And the lying to your kids part, I don't like that either. What gets me about Elf on the Shelf, like I do like to watch the TikToks that come across. I was just watching one yesterday that like Elsa froze this one kid's elf and she was like, "No, we have to rescue him. Elsa, that wasn't kind." And I'm like, "Oh my God." Like it's so stinking cute. And I think kids like, you know, staying up for Santa and all that kind of stuff. Like I think it's so terribly cute, but I'm so freaking morally against it.
Yeah, it's a very wishy-washy type of thing. And I guess the Easter Bunny and Tooth Fairy will also fit into that equation as well on a lesser level. But yeah, it's what you were saying too about Elf on a Shelf actually reminded me, not necessarily a Christmas tradition, and I'm probably telling this story wrong, so both of my sisters will let me know at Christmas time. But I think one of the stories my parents tell is that we had like a doll that was similar to Chucky from Child's Play growing up. And my sister was really scared of it and threw it away at one point. And my dad tends to go through the garbage to make sure we didn't throw things away that we shouldn't have, like a good hoarder. And he found this Chucky-ish doll in there, and he took it out and put it back in the room. And apparently this frightened, like, I think this was my sister's, and I'm gonna hear it if it wasn't. But that just made me laugh so much to hear that story. Like
that is hilarious. I got this doll from a childhood best friend, and the doll itself wasn't creepy, but it had a wind-up key in the back, and when you wound it up, the head would go in a circle, like kind of like rolling your shoulders almost, like that. And
creepy.
Then it would also play Fury Lease, so it would just be like da 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 da.
That's horrifying.
And it was horrifying, and so I kept it in my room. I thought I liked it, and I thought it was cute. And it was sentimental to me because my best friend got it for me. Well, one night it just started going off. And I was like, no, thank you. So I was too sentimental to get rid of it. So I put it in the attic and there it stayed. And until we eventually moved out of that house and we threw it out.
Yeah. I don't feel like I have a ton of super sentimental things. Now that I have my own house, I've got boxes of like just knickknacks that my parents collected over the years of mine. But if I never saw them again, I wouldn't be offended.
I'm trying to be more, because I will put a sentimental feeling on anything. I am terribly bonded to things, and I don't know why. I'm sure there's some sort of trauma surrounding that.
Yeah, probably.
Well, one of the things, so my dad's probably gonna come back to me and be like, yeah, I know exactly why. But there was an incident when I was younger where my mom had put all of our stuff in a storage unit and then didn't pay the bill.
Oh no.
And then all like pictures, books, clothes.
Did you lose it all?
We lost it all.
No. Oh God.
So yeah, that might have something to do with it.
Did they just throw it away, or did they like...
I don't know what happened to it. She just didn't pay the bill, and it either got thrown away or it got put in a storage war or something, which I terribly pity anyone who found any of my diaries, because those were unhinged. So
yeah, we had a similar situation happen to us when I was like in 5th grade. Something clogged in my parents' house that flooded the entire basement. And my mom did keep like all... So a story about my mom, too. My mom was married at one point before my dad to somebody who...
Scandal.
No, not a scandal at all. It's actually kind of a sad story.
Aww.
It's so they were happily married. Everything was going okay. And then one day, just, in his, I guess, like mid to early 30s, he just dropped dead of a sudden heart attack where his heart just exploded in his chest.
That happened to my grandpa. I'll let you finish.
But yeah, so my mom had all this stuff from this guy, Carl, who was her first husband, like in the basement, that we occasionally, like as kids, being younger ones, would see and find down there. And then this entire basement flood completely destroyed like all of those memories. Like, I mean, there's something to be said to moving on, which she obviously did very well. But like all those things are completely lost forever
it's hard.
now. Yeah.
It really is. So the first thing, my dad's dad died at 28 of a heart attack.
Oh.
So I've never met my grandfather, and he died when my dad was really, really young. So that's sad. But the other part of that story, so about the storage unit and losing all of those things, is a couple years later, then my mom made us, so we had this ongoing yard sale like in our garage. We actually got like a letter from the town that we had to stop because it was like every weekend. So my mom made us go through like all of our things, and we had to sell a bunch of our stuff, like me and my brother. Like she was like, toys, whatever. We had to sell it at the yard sale, and we had like screaming and crying matches over some of these things that she wanted to sell. And my stepdad got to keep all of his things. And so, yeah, that might be why I have some issues letting things go.
Yeah, I think there's a complicated relationship with that. Like, my sisters and I talk about this all the time because my parents both very much hoarders in different capacities. And then, like, with us, we're mostly just trying to keep things slim as possible. And it's something to be said, too, of just growing up in a generation where things were not readily available. Because my parents are a lot older than Brian, for instance. Brian's probably like 35 years younger than my parents. So, like, it was just a different time. And, like, my mom will all the time will be like, oh, this china will be yours when I die or something like that. And I'm like, I would prefer just not to think of you dying over china or something like that.
Well, and that's the thing, too. If you think that where generation after generation, people are going to die and leave things to their kids, like, you're just creating a whole mess of hoarders.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things is I wrestle back and forth about this nativity set, because I'm like, I am sentimental towards it, but at the same time, like, what, I'm going to keep it in my house for the rest of my life and then pass it down to my kids who don't have any memories of my grandparents, and like they'll feel obligated to keep that around for their lifetimes. And like it's kind of like my feeling about getting cremated. Like, I've thought about getting cremated and put in like an urn or something, but then you've just got like the worst game of hot potato.
Yeah.
And I don't want my kids to like pass it down to their kids and then their kids, and then eventually somebody's like, we didn't even know this bitch, and just throw me in the trash, which is I won't care. But I do think constantly about like the best way to get rid of my remains, because on one hand, I don't want to be buried.
Such a morbid thing, Janet.
Well, I don't want to be buried because like that's bad for the environment, and
Yeah.
I don't want to be cremated and put in an urn. But as aforementioned, that doesn't appeal to me. And then I don't want to be. I don't want my ashes to be spread.
I don't want my ass spread.
But like, you know, you throw me in, you spread my ashes, and then I get into the water supply. And what if I'm contagious?
See, I like the idea. Like, I think if I don't actually think about what I want to have happen to me after I die, because I actually don't think about my death very much. But
That's probably healthy.
yeah, I think
Good for you.
At some point, I'd like to live in the moment for better or for worse. But I feel like cremation and just spreading my ashes at like the beach or somewhere like that would be great. Like that seems like.
But then the fish eat you.
Okay, then I'm part of the
And
fish.
breathe you in. I don't know. But they didn't consent to that.
That's true. It's like because we have so many ADD tangents. I remember I heard about this on a podcast called Everything is Alive, that when they retire subway cars, they actually just cast them out into the ocean. But then they become fish homes, apparently. So
Aw, that's kind of cute.
it is kind of cute, but also like, why are you throwing old subway cars into the ocean?
I'm going to be a tree, I've decided.
See, that could be nice. Like maybe your ashes, you spread them in a hole and plant a tree there.
Well, yeah,
That could be
you can
nice.
actually, there's this website, you can actually send your ashes in and they get put into like this tree pod, and then you plant the pod and then a tree grows. And I thought that would be really neat because, you know, I'll be a tree, and then by the time the tree is dead or gets cut down, everyone who's ever known me is dead, so nobody cares.
Yeah, that is a thought about death that I think about a lot, is the fact that like in 100 years, pretty much nobody will remember I existed, which is somewhat romantic. In fact, I remember there was a David Wong book I read a couple of years ago that talked about specifically why end of the world fantasies are so big with everyone, like the concept of the Armageddon or the rapture or something like that, is because like as a human, subconsciously you want the world to end with you. Like you don't want it to go on in a meaningful way when you can't contribute anymore. But in reality, like even the most influential people of all time, the world has gotten along pretty well without Einstein, without like anybody. Like,
Well is a strong word.
well is a strong word, but we've survived, I guess is the
Yeah.
best way to put it. And there have been good times and bad times.
Yeah, it
Lots of
was
bad lately.
The best of
but-
times, it was the worst of times. Happy holidays, everyone.
Yeah, this tangented again, but trying to
All
think
right,
of
bring it
other,
back.
other Christmas traditions I enjoy.
I have a good one.
Ooh,
we
go.
did this a couple of times. Like I said, nothing's ever been consistent. But you ever hear of like the pickle ornament?
Yeah.
Dude, that was so fun.
I feel like my parents have a pickle ornament, actually.
So for anyone who doesn't know about the pickle ornament, it's the special ornament that you get. It's a pickle. And what happens is, you know, you keep the pickle ornament like hidden until Christmas Eve. And then while you're sleeping, your parents go out and they put the pickle on the tree in an undisclosed location. And then the next morning, whoever finds the pickle first gets to open their presents first.
Ooh, that's cool.
Did you do that part?
No, I didn't know that was a tradition. I feel like I've seen a pickle ornament in a lot of places, though.
Yeah, but that's what you do. Like that's how it works. And we did that for a little while, which was a lot of fun.
Did you do advent calendars?
No.
We did those a couple of years. Something I'd forgotten about too, which was a strictly religious tradition, was the Advent wreath. I don't know if they do this outside of the Catholic Church, but like every week when we go to church, there's just a wreath with like 4 candles.
Yeah. I grew up Trinity United Methodist, which is about as close as you can get to Catholic without being Lutheran.
Yeah.
So we did that too.
So many fun shades of Christianity in this
Yeah.
world. So, but and I forget why exactly, but like it's the 3rd week candle is the one that's like the different color, and I never
Yeah.
quite understood why. I was like, wouldn't you want the Christmas week candle to be the different colored one? We also like
What is the explanation behind that?
they told me years ago,
God
and I
damn it,
can't
Hal.
remember. It's something like, oh, this is when the visitation happened, and Mary found out she was pregnant or
While
something.
you're talking, I'm going to look it up.
But this did segue into something else too, because I was just talking to a coworker of mine whose kids go to my Catholic grade school right now, St. Catherine's, and he was saying that they were doing a nativity this week, which warmed my heart a little bit, because a story my mom likes to tell as to why St. Catherine's sort of soured on us as a parish in general is because our very stuffy Monsignor at one point discontinued the nativity scene because he said it was not enough in the spirit of Christ and Christmas, which as a kid you don't process exactly how absurd that is, but like
It is pretty absurd.
so you're telling me the birth of Jesus is not enough to celebrate Christmas, huh? He thought it was frivolous, but apparently it's back, and they're all doing it he said they're going to do it next week. So that warmed my heart. Being a former Joseph myself, and my sisters were angels. So, although never Mary.
Okay, so
What's the verdict?
I'm looking here, and I don't. So one clue that I've found so far. Okay, this is Wikipedia, so you know it's real.
Yeah.
Another interpretation states that the first candle is the Messiah or prophecy candle, representing the prophets who predicted the coming in of Jesus.
Okay.
The second is the Bethlehem candle, representing the journey of Joseph and Mary. The third represents the shepherds and their joy, and the fourth is the angel's candle, representing peace. And then you've got the Christmas candle in the middle.
It's funny because I remember almost every single thing about Catholic dogma and catechism, but I just could not remember what the justification/explanation for that was. Weird.
Yeah. I'm still reading, but I don't want to. You know what? You guys look it up, and maybe we'll talk about it another time.
Yeah, maybe we'll start doing polls for the podcast because
I was thinking about that.
Somebody had Anchor has all these fun suggestions about how to diversify your podcast, and though I am very grateful for the 22 people who listen to every episode, it's always nice to be heard by more people.
Yeah.
So
no, I think it'd be fun. So on Instagram, when we post this, I'll put a poll about, your favorite Christmas traditions.
Yeah.
So make sure you comment on the post this week to let us know what your favorite Christmas traditions are.
Yeah, we can cover that next week then, too.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
And we'll have Wallace on next week.
Yes, he is not quite confirmed with me yet. I only texted him last night just to be like, hey, do you want to do Christmas? But he's down. Wallace's movie, by the way, just as a quick tangent, the one we had discussed the last time he was on, he posted something that it has 3,400 views on YouTube, which... he said he made some sort of joke about, I guess the algorithm worked well, but that's how my sister found it, actually, was she said it just popped up on her YouTube.
Snaps for Wallace.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. 3,400 views is, I think the video on my YouTube that has the most views might be 3,000, and that was when we were in California, my roommate wanted to do a web series about fans of the Pittsburgh Penguins, and he knew people at the Penguins fans blogs and sent it out to all those people. It was not well put together. We didn't know how to do a lot of things, but it had 3,000 views, which was kind of cool. So
yeah. Nice.
And it's actually my first video on my YouTube as well. So
cool.
But yeah, Christmas traditions. What else is there?
Let's see. Did I ever tell you that? So I stopped believing in Santa when I was in 5th grade.
Okay.
That feels late.
I was. No, 4th grade. So,
okay.
And that
Maybe
was a little bit late as well. 3rd was the last year I had a Santa. So.
Okay. Well, but I talk about this on stage sometimes. Is I stopped believing in Santa when I was 11 years old. I stopped believing in Elvis Presley when I was 9. And let me tell you, I was obsessed with Elvis Presley when I was a kid. I was totally in love with Elvis Presley. It was all I would ever listen to. Mm-hmm. So my mom, when I was 9 years old, decided to get me this limited edition commemorative magazine that was all about Elvis Presley. And come to my surprise, because I had just been to Las Vegas and I could have sworn I met Elvis Presley, but I go to read this magazine and come to find out he's been dead for 30 years. And no one thought to tell me that the Elvis Presley that I met in Las Vegas was not the real guy.
Aww.
And I was way more upset about that than I ever was about Santa.
I mean, depending on what conspiracy theories you believe, it could have been the real Elvis Presley. So
Maybe.
That kind of reminds me of when I was a kid, just because I was confused about the way they described American history to me. I thought George Washington was still the president when I was in 1st grade because I didn't quite understand time and the timeline and everything. And I didn't realize it until I read a book. It was Arthur. Arthur goes to Washington, D.C., and he gets to meet the president. And I saw the president, who I guess at that time it would have been George H.W. Bush, but they made it look like an aardvark or whatever. And I'm that's not George Washington. And that was the surprise for me, that George Washington was not the president in 1990.
What?
Yeah.
It's news to me.
Scandalous.
I know. Wow, that's crazy. I've been looking at people's lights. Mm-hmm. I love how hard people go on Christmas lights. It's one of my favorite Christmas traditions. I actually have
since this is my first year in this house, and I'm scant for money right now, I actually have no lights right now, but my mom is going to give me some of her excess lights. Because there are some fantastic Christmas light displays in my neighborhood. And something I like that people have been doing in recent years is there's so many trees in my neighborhood, and they'll just go to a random tree and just drape it in lights. And I really love that because it kind of like makes it like, it's kind of like coloring in a piece of the night, essentially, which I really like.
That's really intense. That's pretty deep.
Yeah. My parents actually use the same lights for Halloween and for Christmas. They're golden lights. So they double for both.
Cheaters, I see.
You call it cheating. I call it multitasking. So
Fair enough.
yeah. Smarts.
Christmas foods. I hate fruitcake.
Yeah. Never had fruitcake. Never want it.
Don't. I hate eggnog.
Eggnog is kind of like gross on the surface level, but nothing like eggnog with nutmeg and rum. Nothing quite tastes more Christmas than that. If that's a weird thing to say.
Hal, you're not going to convince me to drink eggnog. It's just not going to happen.
Just drink whiskey like any cold-blooded American woman.
I don't drink whiskey.
What do you drink then? What's your drink of choice?
Like a Bay Breeze. That's
Okay.
the most.
So like rum. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I like mixed drinks, anything that doesn't really taste like alcohol.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
That's why I like rum in general, because
I
rum
do love
like.
me a good mimosa, so I might be coming over to your mom's for Christmas mimosas.
Yeah, well, you're welcome at our house if you want to for
Aw,
Christmas
that's nice.
stuff. Because Wallace comes over for most holidays as well, so
That's so cute.
yeah, he's been like a staple at our house for a while, and he always brought my mom a candle for Christmas, like as a thank you for letting me come over, and me, and Steve would just watch like movies and stuff like that.
That's neat.
He's become like an honorary member of the family, and now his boyfriend as well, like because they all
Yeah.
came over on Thanksgiving, and we talked our favorite movies and TV shows, and
Yeah.
sat around by the fire and mingled.
I'm sure we'll do, like, me and my friend group will probably do like a Friendsmas. Friendsmas. It's good.
Yeah, I really enjoy, like, that's kind of what I like about holidays in general, is it gives you an excuse to just get people together. I used to throw
Yeah.
a Christmas party every single year, but haven't done it, like, I stopped doing it the year before the pandemic because I was just too tired around Christmas season, not realizing then that, like, parties were going to go away for 2 years in general.
Well, what sucks is I love to host, but my apartment is way too small to host anything. So I'm very excited for when I inevitably get a house.
For speaking of which, we have not hashed out the details on this yet, but since we were just talking about Wallace and holidays in general, he was telling me that him and Josh have this idea for a New Year's party, because they were thinking about using my house for it, where they shoot a short film about a New Year's party on New
cute.
Year's as the New Year's party. And I'm like, I'm in. Like, you can use my house if you want to for that. Like,
Ryan and I would be down to come.
yeah, I think it'd be a fun time. Like, just create. New Year's is like, because we were talking holidays in general, New Year's is something that's lost literally all meaning for
Yeah.
me.
It would be kind of fun to do like a mockumentary kind of thing with the New Year's party.
Yeah, that could be fun. I don't know exactly, like, we're supposed to do a planning session about it at some point. I'm sure Wallace will be able to talk more details because him and Josh have probably talked about it more. But yeah, I think that might be an interesting thing.
Yeah, that would be fun. I'm in.
I can't even tell you the last time I did anything no, it was like, so when I lived like at the Improv compound over by St. Catherine's, we did have a New Year's party in the building that year, and that was the last New Year's party I went to because I literally could just walk upstairs to my apartment and go to sleep. But otherwise, like, that's a holiday that just doesn't do it for me at all anymore.
Yeah, the thing is I'm tired by 10:30, so I can't stay up late like I used to, but I'm going to try really hard this year because I actually want to do something nice. We're thinking about, unless you guys are doing something, we were thinking about going to like the downtown Harrisburg, like strawberry dropping kind of thing.
Yeah, you're still pretty young. Like, we used to do that when I was your age. We did stuff like that. Like, my friends and I, like, so my one neighbor used to throw this like gargantuan New Year's party every single year, and it was like this really cool party because it was a great blend of, like, he's my mom's age, like they're old college friends, but like my mom and this guy and like their friends in general have always mixed well with young people. So this party every year was like a really interesting mix between younger people and older people, and everybody actually got along well and mingled well, and they were fun. Like, all of his parties were kind of like that. And my friends and I would like go to the first half to this party because they referred to it as Party Mansion for that reason. And then we'd go downtown. And I remember my friend Kyle used to say that those like New Year's Eves that we had were all like How I Met Your Mother episodes. Because one year he followed somebody from the party downtown to try to meet her. We never caught up with her because there's like 10,000 fucking people on
Yeah.
2nd Street. But you also have to be careful because that's where the DUI checkpoints are every single year too. Like,
I'm sure.
Yeah, the only DUI checkpoint I've ever gone through actually was picking up my sister from Thanksgiving Eve on 2nd Street, which I hadn't been drinking, thankfully. But yeah, so. And on that note, everybody, do not drink and drive.
Yeah, don't drink and drive, you cowards.
Yeah, that's something that was actually like
drive then drink. God damn it.
Yeah, I like have almost never driven, even like having after 1 or 2 beers, because for everybody out there who doesn't know, my dad was a DUI prosecutor.
Oh wow.
So like that was very much ingrained, and a very good thing to ingrain into us.
Oh yeah, of course.
But yeah, like a lot of my friends would be like, "Oh man, I got so wasted and drove home the other night," and I'd be like, "Nope, not doing that."
When I was turning 21, I was like, somebody before me had their 21st birthday, and one of the gifts that they got was like a portable breathalyzer. You could like a breathalyzer app. And I sent that to my dad, and I was like, "Dad, this is a really cool gift. I feel like you should get this for me for my birthday because that would be a practical gift." And he was like, "How about don't drive after drinking?" I was like, "All right, fine, fair enough."
Yeah, it's like I have had friends around here who've gotten a couple of DUIs and gone to jail for it in general.
Ryan has a friend who's in jail right now because he had DUIs and he didn't pay the fines. And then when the cops came to get him, he climbed onto the roof. So he got pegged for resisting arrest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, can we stop being friends with him now, please?
Yeah. I mean, we know at least one person in our circle who has recently also gone to jail for that. But
was it that? Because I wasn't sure.
Yeah, that's what happened. So,
okay.
And there's another person in the comedian circles. Actually, was the person who got me into stand up that had happened to them as well.
All right, comedians, stop that.
We're all super depressed. We just like drink our feelings.
Just
like,
drink at home.
I'm guilty of that.
Don't go
Yeah,
driving.
I drink at home. That's what I.
You can drink with us, but get one of us responsible ones to drive you home. Most of the female comedians are responsible and might drive you home.
Yeah, you can drink at my house. I have a guest bedroom. Yay. Yeah, this is getting weird. But I did have friends out in Los Angeles, too, who'd gotten, like, actually the guy who sort of got me and my roommate our starts working for Relativity had gotten a DUI one of the years he was in Los Angeles. And he put this was just one like, the other people I know who've gone to jail have gone there for multiple DUIs. This guy had just gotten one DUI, and he put the fear of God in us. He's like, yeah, if you ever drink and can't get home, call me. I'll drive you because, like, they take it significantly more serious out in California. And like it cost him like $25,000 in legal fees. He barely avoided jail, and he couldn't drive for an entire year, essentially.
Oh my God.
So, and then this was just for one. I mean, one DUI is way more than you should get anyway. But,
oh, for sure.
But like considering that it took several DUIs to because I mentioned to my dad briefly at one point, like, yeah, I have this friend and they went to jail for DUI. And he's like, Hal, they had to have gotten arrested like 3 times because they don't send you to jail unless you're a super repeat offender. So,
yeah, I think the issue with Ryan's friend was that like it was he hadn't paid like the fines or whatever. But I guess there were multiple too. So I don't know.
Yeah, I never understood that exactly. Like, that was something else my dad always told me too. It's like, yeah, always pay those traffic fines because they're going to get you eventually. Like, eventually you have to go in and renew your license, and then you're just going to be like, whoops. Like,
yeah.
So.
Crazy.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think. We only have a couple more minutes left here. I'm trying to think of other favorite Christmas traditions of mine. I haven't gotten to do this in a couple of years, and I'm really hoping that Lauren and I get a chance to do this because we've talked about it a little bit. I love going to Christmas Candy Lane.
Oh, yeah.
And it stems from I worked at Hershey Park for like all 4 years in high school, all 4 years in college. And I didn't actually do Candy Lane until I was in college, but it was like the most fabulous experience every year. Like, even though there were nights where it was stupid fucking cold outside, there were Christmas lights everywhere, hot chocolate if you wanted it from the stands, Christmas music. And the best thing was all of the patrons were always in super good moods because it was Christmas time and they were like in this Christmas explosion around Hershey Park. Whereas in the summertime, I feel like there's a lot more pressure if you're making this your family vacation and you're in long lines and you're hot and you're overcharged for everything. You ran into a lot more volatile personalities. Lord, did I run into some volatile guests those times. But Christmas time there was just so fabulous. And so I love going. In fact, my favorite experience gift I ever got was I had an ex-girlfriend like 5 or 6 years ago treat me to Hershey Park Christmas Candy Lane and like any food I wanted and hot chocolate and all
Aw.
that. And that was really the most fabulous present I could have asked for. I loved it.
Yeah, I've only been like once, honestly, weirdly enough. But there is this really great place in Shippensburg, if it's still open. It's called Tiny Town, and it's basically a very tiny town. That's got these
You don't say.
these like doll houses and things like that, and they dress it up all fancy for Christmas and stuff, and they have Christmas music playing, and you go and you walk around and you look in all the little doll houses.
Aw.
And it's like a little town. So you've got like there's a post office, there's a fire, what are they called? Fire department, whatever. And like you can look in and see the little guys, and they also have like hot chocolate and stuff, and it's cute. So I used to go there when I was a kid.
Yeah, I feel like Christmas is the one time that like all of the tacky stuff is just wonder. And I think that's the
Yeah.
magic of Christmas is things that you might be more cynical about the rest of the year are just like, although some people try, like I have firmly landed on I don't like people complaining that Christmas starts too soon every single year. Like every year around November, you're like, you'll have friends being like, Christmas music is starting again. And I used to kind of get it, but at this point I'm kind of like, it's a great season. If you want to extend it more, just
My
let it.
hottest take on that is, you know what? Life sucks. Keep the spirit of Christmas going as long as you can. Like,
Yeah.
I start it as early as you want if it makes you happy, because so much in this world doesn't make you happy.
I agree. Just like, do as much as you can, basically.
Yeah.
That was something, too. With Christmas Candy Lane, I have a bone to pick about them, too, because it used to be... My mom also took us to Christmas Candy Lane at least once every single year, and sometimes multiple times, because when we were kids, it was free admission for Candy Lane. You could buy tickets to go on individual rides because not a lot was open. Mm-hmm. And then the last year I worked it there, which was the Christmas for 2006, I want to say, was the last year it was free because after that they decided to start charging. And it wasn't much. They charged
Capitalist
like $9
bastards.
admission. So it was kind of like, that's worth it to go in still.
Yeah.
But now it's like $40 to go. And this
Yep.
is for something that was free 15 years ago. So
Those corporate candy mongrels,
I still want to go. But
mongers, corporate candy mongers.
another fun like thing around there too, have you ever done Sweet Lights?
Yeah.
I love Sweet Lights. Like,
We drove by it on accident a couple weeks back, and I was like, hey, look, I took you to Hershey Sweet Lights. Look at all the lights.
yeah, it's fun. So actually, like the person I was seeing over the summer too, we used to go on a lot of long walks, and one of the walks we went on was actually like the grounds at the Hotel Hershey, and I didn't realize that all of Sweet Lights, because I've done it so many times in like the backwoods there, it's all just the hiking trail that you can go there for most of the summer, which was very cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, but Sweet Lights in general, for anybody who likes Christmas explosions as much as I do, it's just a lot of fun. Like you get a van full of people, it's like $20 a car, and you just get to go through and get a Christmas explosion in your face for like 45 minutes. So if you like Christmas explosions in your face, check out Hershey's Sweet Lights.
Yeah.
We may or may not, probably will not, get a commission on every ticket sold for people who mention this podcast.
Definitely not.
Mention promo code Hal and Shannon to receive 0% off of your next entry.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I'm really excited about Christmas.
Yeah.
Gonna have some good times, gonna have some good traditions and such.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of my traditions for Christmas revolve around watching certain Christmas movies, which I know is going to be the
Yep.
next episode, so I don't want to talk about those
And
yet.
I'm already crafting some really great questions for you guys, so.
Oh, I can't wait.
I'm excited.
I have some interesting hot takes on Christmas movies. I guess as a quick preview, a weird Christmas movie I like, which I acknowledge is not a good movie whatsoever, but I just love it for some reason, is Surviving Christmas.
Never seen it.
Maybe
I'll watch it before the next episode.
We will talk about it, I'm sure, next episode. I love it so much, I bought it off of Amazon. It's one of 4 movies I own in my digital catalog.
That's hilarious.
And the plot of the movie, quick take, is Ben Affleck plays this crazy like ad executive who's going through something with his girlfriend, and she leaves him. And so her therapist suggests that he just go to his family house to relive his Christmas. His family house is Catherine O'Hara and James Gandolfini, and he basically rents the family and the house for Christmas. The movie is absolutely batshit insane. It's really badly acted. Ben Affleck is like in freewheeling Al Pacino mode, but for some reason it does it for me. In fact, it was so much that like my sister's boyfriend Max used to sort of make fun of me for loving this movie so much, and he's not wrong. It's a pretty crazy movie. So
yeah. All right. Well, like I said, keep an eye out on the Instagram so that we can try and do some polls and other fun things.
Yeah, we're trying to get better about promoting this podcast, so it's a learning experience.
Tell your friends, and we'll hope to see you next week to talk about holiday films.
Yeah, so this has been fun talking about holiday traditions. I've been Hal.
I've been Shannon.
And thank you. Have a wonderful holiday season. Hopefully y'all don't get so stressed about things. You could enjoy the Christmas explosion in your face. And we'll see you next week with Wallace McKelvey to talk about our favorite Christmas movies.